Hello everybody and welcome back to Luca 2019, the comic book and board game festival where Dungeons and Dragons is happening everywhere, and I'm here with Paul Foxcroft.
Hello.
Who has his own show called Questing Time where he does lots of Dungeons and Dragons related things. How are you today, Paul?
I'm good. I'm tired and I'm underground.
Yes.
So
we are in a dungeon. How is the dungeon treating you?
it's odd.
Yes.
I like it, but when they said, "Well, we'll be working in an actual dungeon,"
Yes.
I assumed there was some amount of hyperbole.
Oh, no.
And then no, we're not. We're in a literal walled city.
Yes. I did expect like some sort of like weird torture devices or something to be around, like when they said dungeon, but no, it's just...
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
There is a torture museum in town.
Well, there we go. We'll
Yeah.
check that out afterwards. But back to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
Whilst we're
Ideally
in a
both.
dungeon. Yes, exactly. Questing Time. Tell me about it. Tell me about how you run it, what goes on with it, how you feel about Questing Time.
How do I feel about my
Yes.
show? I like
Yeah.
it. I think it's good. Come and watch it.
Yeah.
So I'm an improviser. That's
Yes.
my background. I work in improv comedy.
Mhm.
And I used to do a two-hander show with a comedian called Carrie Ad Lloyd.
Yeah.
And then we had a regular gig in London, and then Carrie Ad got pregnant and got to a point where she was like, I can't keep doing shows.
Yes.
I'm too pregnant
Yes.
to do comedy right now. But she was saying, we should keep the show going. Why don't you do that Dungeons and Dragons idea you had? And I thought, yeah, what's the worst that could happen? I'll try this for a couple of shows and see how it goes. And so I just thought, yeah, what if I just run Dungeons and Dragons for comedians on stage?
Yeah.
And the answer was, it turns out there's an audience for that, which I did not think was necessarily going to be there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we've been doing it for I've been doing it for about 4 years now. And we do London every
Yes.
second Sunday at the Phoenix.
Yeah.
And Edinburgh festivals and a few other places hither and yon as we're booked.
Wonderful.
And what I've discovered is the internet has an appetite for D&D.
yes, yes.
So we don't live stream it because I'm technologically inept.
Ooh.
But we're going to start putting it online from
Yeah.
January onwards, I think,
Have you
pending a couple of meetings.
Done any other live stream D&D before? Like, would that be the first sort of taste
No,
of it?
My first
Ooh.
live stream D&D is in.
Oh!
This is set to British time. It's today. I
Yeah.
don't know. I have no idea what
1
time
hour
it is
ahead.
right now. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's in like 5 hours.
Okay.
And my first live stream D&D is with Mark from the Yogscast and Joe Manganello.
Yes.
And a couple of the guys from the D&D art
Yeah.
team. So,
Yeah, no big deal.
no pressure.
No big deal
pressure.
at all.
Yeah.
What got you into Dungeons and Dragons in the first place? What was something that inspired you to make this show?
Oh, God. Those are two very different questions. What got me into Dungeons and Dragons was my
Yes.
best friend at school was a guy called Pete Larkin. And he and I, in the late 90s, discovered that Quentin Tarantino
Yes.
had worked in a video store
Ooh.
and learned everything about films from there. And we went to our local Blockbuster Video and talked at length pretentiously about films we didn't understand with a man who worked behind the counter who I also think didn't really understand cinema.
Oh,
But
that's
we
our job now. Like,
but we became friends, and Mike, who was that guy, ran a couple of tabletop RPGs, or invited us to come and play in a couple of tabletop RPGs. He was like 2 years older than we were, and then we wound up doing LARPing of all things. I
Yes.
LARPed first.
yeah.
I went at this a weird direction, but I was doing a Vampire the Masquerade LARP in Liverpool, and this is while I was at university. And then a few of the guys who were there were like, "Oh, you seem fun. Come and play in our D&D game." And so my first experience of D&D was in about 2000, and it was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So it was just before 3rd edition came out, and that was confusing.
Yeah,
And
I can
arcane,
imagine. Yeah.
but fun because I had a bunch of people who knew the game around me who were there to help me. Like, this is the kind of die you want, and you can't do that. You don't have spells. You're a fighter.
yeah. And then
and-
you drew on those experiences to make the show?
Yeah, well, I've continued to play D&D and a bunch of other games, but mainly D&D in various forms through all the different editions. And I realized a couple of years ago that Dungeons and Dragons and improv are the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The difference is in improv there are fewer dice, not none,
yeah.
just fewer.
Oh, fair enough.
And so I figured I think I can make a comedy show out of this.
Yeah.
And
then
did.
Yeah. Do you find fantasy a kind of a good place to base improv in? Is it a fun place to draw your different funny things from?
I think so, yeah, because it's fantasy by its nature is kind of fluid as a reality.
Yeah.
So you can get away with mistakenly. I'm trying to think of a good example from a recent show. You get away with a genuine mistake. And then play it off like, no, that's just how it is in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you an example. Like, this is a classic example of players leaping on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I'm running the group through the Essentials kit at the minute. which is a new sort of starter set for D&D, which is very accessible.
Hey.
And because it comes with lots of little sort of quest cards, magic items all have actual physical cards you hand out to players. It's great, but it has raised the bar problematically high for subsequent games. But the players were starting on that, and I'd just written a little intro. So you're walking down the Tribord Trail, light rain is falling, and you walk past merchants on the road, and then one of them went, merchants? Oh, I want to talk to one of the merchants. And I'm clearly halfway through a bit of flavour text that I've written. And as a result, the players now own about 200 snow globes and a little trolley to sell them from, as they bought this guy's business out with they pooled all of their starter money.
Good.
And bought a guy's business and trousers and surname, and then sold his trousers back to him.
Well, at least he got them back.
Yeah, but now he has no surname.
Or snow globes.
Or snow globes, for that matter. And they continually try and buy things with snow globes, and that has yet to work.
What would you say is like the funniest thing that's happened in D&D? What's the most memorable part that you have of it? Is it that you've just mentioned, or is it something that just made you go, that is some real Dungeons and Dragons we've done right there?
There's two answers to that question. I'll do most memorable. My friend Richard Soames, who's a brilliant improviser and comedian, and my friend Bryony Redmond, also a phenomenal improviser, brilliant comedian, great writer, played two of the regular characters. And they'd gone off on Hannah is Bryony's character, who's a goblin thief. Hannah Ball, who loves it when a plan comes together. And Richard played a character called Mike, asshole wizard. Who was just a wizard who was a terrible person. But a member of the Order of Asshole Wizards.
Okay, good.
Who are wizards who've sacrificed social niceties in order to do good in the world. So they do good, but no one likes them.
Yes.
And they'd gotten the quest item back from a monster, got back to the town where Bryony's character's parents were, and to find the parents, her mother had been kidnapped by a villain who was very much like, one of these 6 goblins is your mother, give us the thing or we'll slit their throat.
Yeah. Oh.
And they called the villain on it, so they did. They cut the throats of all the goblins. Half the party rushes to help them. Half the party attacks the wizard. They kill the wizard, but the wizard had an airship hovering over the city. And while the cleric, Beckhill, was resurrecting Bryony's mum, Richard Soames went, I've got one fireball left. The airship. I'm going to hit the airship. And I'm like, sure. And he said, I'm going to aim for the hot air balloon bit. And I was like, okay. And then roll to hit. Brian said to Bryony, okay, your mother comes around. And Bryony just went, where's Dad? And Richard goes, natural 20. And I go, they kidnapped him. He's on the airship. And Richard goes, wait, what? As his character killed Bryony's character's dad.
Fireballed it out
live
of the
on stage.
Sky. Jeez, that's horrible.
Yeah, and then
Quite funny though.
Yeah, very funny. But also, but my favorite thing was watching the audience go, no, because I like it when the show makes the audience laugh. I like it when it makes them make the other noises.
Yes.
Funniest experience. Ahir Shah, who's a brilliant award-winning comedian, played D&D for the first time in Questing Time at the Edinburgh Festival. And in the middle of one game, he plays a dragonborn fighter called Tupac Shakur.
Oh, good.
And he kind of stopped and went, wait, so there's a temple and it's on fire? And I said, yes. And he went, and I can just go in there and do whatever I want. I went, well, you can try. So it was like, so if I want to just kick the doors in, I'm like, that seems reasonable. He was like, and it just happened. So I'm like, yeah. And he turned to the audience and went, you people are idiots. This game's amazing. You could be at home playing this game right now. Why are you here?
Yes.
And he had such a fun time doing that about 4 nights later, 10 minutes from the end of my show, Ahir burst into the theatre from the back room, walked on stage, stripped to the waist with a bandana tied around his head, screaming, I am the bad boy of Dungeons and Dragons.
Good.
And just joined in with the show. He'd stolen his character sheet at the end of the session.
It's like, that's who he is
some
now.
dice.
Yeah, that's his now true character forever.
Yeah, well, there's now like a constant low-level background threat that anytime we do the show, if Ahir's nearby, he will just barrel on stage and join in.
That sounds brilliant, though. That sounds a good way of doing it. Just a natural threat. It's
a nice level of risk. We've also had one session last year where Marcus Brigstock was playing in evening wear.
Yes.
And I was like, why are you in evening wear? I was at the BAFTAs.
Oh, there you go.
But I left early to come and play D&D.
Oh, that's such a nice way to... I feel like that's what D&D is about, though, isn't it?
It's about leaving the BAFTAs.
Yes, it is. It's about coming and playing D&D in your tuxedo, having a nice time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you use a lot of lemons in your show. Like, lemons seem to come up frequently.
We use lemons quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah. There is a mechanic in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition called inspiration. So if you do something that serves your character, if you play your character well, or if the games master might give you, the dungeon master might give you a inspiration. And I found we needed a way of tracking that. And I bought some very nice prop gems.
Yes.
Which are heavy and sharp. So they have advantages and disadvantages. And you can use inspiration to give your character like a boost. So if you really need to make that roll, you can increase your odds with inspiration.
Yeah.
And we had John Finnemore, half of Radio 4. John Finnemore was a guest on the show. And in his show Cabin Pressure with Benedict Cumberbatch,
Yes.
there is a running gag about the travelling lemon. And
Yes, yeah.
a number of the audience had hidden lemons on the stage before the show.
Yeah.
And I realised I'd forgotten the gems. And I was like, oh, I've lost the inspiration counters. I guess I'll use these fruits.
That you then had to search out from the
Well,
travelling
there was
lemon
just like
hiding.
one under my my DM screen, and I was like, I guess I'll use this lemon, and that that got a laugh I didn't understand, because at the time I just didn't put 2 and 2 together, and then people started bringing lemons to the shows. Please do not bring lemons to the shows. So no, please don't. It's become a health and safety thing.
Too many lemons.
Now we have foam. Fake lemons.
Oh, not even like gems.
No, not even. They're fake lemons.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. One was because after each show, I just wound up with like an enormous bag of citrus fruit that people had scrawled Sharpie all over. And then also because once somebody hurled one of the lemons out of the audience onto the stage at Richard.
Oh no!
I don't know if you've ever thrown a lemon at a human being, but it's technically assault. Please do not throw lemons at people.
Wow, a lesson for your D&D
Yeah.
games. Don't chuck lemons. Would you say being a DM has given you any skills that you can transfer to everyday life? Has being a DM given you like newfound anything?
I don't know newfound, because I was already an improviser when I started DMing. I think what it's done is it makes you really good at bullshitting.
Yes.
Which is different to lying.
Okay.
Lying has intent and structure behind it. Bullshitting is kind of going, oh, you've just done something I wasn't expecting. I'm going to pretend like that was part of my plan the whole time. I think that's helpful. What else? I think it's made me better at organising things. And then, I'll tell you what, the best skill I've learned from DMing is organising a thing and then just being fine when that falls apart like a wet cake.
Oh, God, yeah. No.
Right? And then being able to roll with that punch. There's an old proverb, which I think, I can't remember who this is from, but it was, put all of your energy into the contingency, for the plan will surely fail.
Yes.
And if anyone's ever run a game, you'll know that your players never do the thing that you've expected them to do or written them to do. They will do the third thing.
Yeah.
They'll do the thing.
Of course, yeah.
That
Every game I've ever played has been that. It's like there's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
someone have to make it up. But put all your lemons into the contingency. Sure, I can't believe I ruined the saying already with that. Put all your lemons into the
the contingency.
The contingency. Yes. What are the skills do you think it takes to
We're
be
just keeping that take.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, that's going in. That's fine.
Great.
Lemons. What are the skills do you think it takes to be a dungeon master? Like, what do you think you had to bring to the role to be like, hey, right, this is how it's going to go, guys?
I think a passing familiarity with the rules is helpful, but like I don't think it's useful to be what people would call a rules lawyer. I think knowing the rules enough that you can be flexible with them that's useful. And I think it's good to keep an eye on the table and make sure like everyone's getting time. So like you have some sessions where like okay, it's like it's this character's show that week.
Yeah.
And then make sure everyone gets time to shine and the opportunity to shine, I guess, and like, feed everyone's character with some fun stuff. I think it's fun to find ways to engage with the players in terms of like, oh, they've come up with something you didn't expect. Is it actually a good idea? Well, let it happen. Throw away if they've just skipped 5 pages of content you've written. Well.
Go ahead.
Basically, that 5 pages of content, you'll think, oh, it's wasted now, but it isn't. You just put it in a drawer, and then next week you change the word orc to dragon cult. Yeah. And you can reuse the same material. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go off. You can just change the description and it's still good. That's a really useful thing that I learned, because I used to be like, oh, we can't use that, it's gone. And then I was like, no, I can just reuse the stuff we haven't used. I can reuse some of the stuff we have used.
Oh, is that like sneaky for improv though? Does that make you feel like it's not quite on the spot?
Kind of, but then with D&D, I think of it like D&D, I have a script and no one else does. And my job is to kind of loosely get to the end of that script. Yeah. But I'm not fussy about the route we take. And I'm more interested in the surprises people will bring on the way. Yeah. Some people play adversarially in that regard. Some people are like, I refuse to engage. But most of the time people are fun. Just excited to play along and see what the adventure is.
Yeah, of course.
I think of playing D&D and improvising very much like exploring. You don't necessarily know what the destination is, but it's fun to find out what's around the next corner. Yeah, I think that's a nice way of playing it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's lovely. And what do you think is next for Questing Time? I know you said you could think about live streaming.
Pending a couple of chats, because my thing is like I don't want to half-ass it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start live streaming the games from January.
Okay, cool.
I think.
New year, new me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I think we're having a chat. We might be doing a more regular live stream, but in a sort of studio environment. That requires more conversations. Oh, we might have to cut that out. I've just realised that might be Addict. Can we just keep that bit in, but bleep me the whole time?
Yeah.
I'll bleep you the entire time on that.
Wonderful.
Yeah. There's a few other things in the works, but everything's a bit early doors. What else? More conventions, I think.
Yep.
More festivals. We did 9 Worlds a little while ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Which was cool. Not least of which because we got Kieran Gillen to play.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And now I'm just saying, coincidence. Kieran Gillen played at Questing Time and then wrote Die.
Well, there we go.
Coincidence?
There you have it.
Yes. He's made it very clear. I had no influence in that.
Perfect.
It's been really clear.
Yeah.
And his lawyers have been very clear as well.
Back off, please. What other stuff do you have coming up with your improv comedy? Where can we find you with that as well?
The easiest place to find me is on Twitter. I'm at Paul Foxcroft now. I was at Mr. Spider God for a long time, which is still mine. I just don't
Why
use
Mr. Spider God?
It was a reference to. I never tell people. It was a reference to a comic book, and if people can tell me what the comic book is, then they win a Twix.
Was it Spider-Man?
No. But I can see you thinking. Is you thinking the word spider?
Yeah, I am. And man, they're Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So no, it was. I'll tell you off camera because I want to spoil the surprise.
There you go.
Also, the company. So I teach improv as well in and around London. A company is called Monkey Toast. If you would like to learn improv, which also makes you a much better DM.
Hey, let me go.
then,
I'll take a lesson in improv DMing.
Yeah, monkeytoast.co.uk is the website, which now I think about it really needs to be updated. But can't do it here.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for talking
You're
to
very
us.
welcome. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the festival, and we'll have some more coverage for you guys coming very soon. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Bye.